Welcome to Raising NA, show where we talk about all the leagues and all the NA and all everything. I am your
Degen
host
hours.
Smax, and that's your host Cubby, and that's your other host Raafaa. We're all hosty boys, and we're here at the graveyard shift of esports, at least for where Cubby and I live. Wherever Mark is at,
Well,
I
his
don't know
time
what
zone
time
doesn't
zone that is.
exist, so
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I just don't exist, guys. It's okay. You don't have to beat around the bush.
Yeah, all I
Um,
see over there is a sexy tablecloth.
Before we dive into this episode, we apologize. We're gonna be shamelessly eating or drinking. Rafa just came off of two best of threes that were 5 games total, and he is doing this afterwards. And we are not doing this because Rafa was traveling yesterday, visiting family. So we're back. We're gonna be shamelessly eating a little bit, but we're excited to talk about the LCS Academy Proving Grounds, everything that's NA. And let's start us off with the Pro League. And Smax, I'm going to open the floor for you. Which topic would you like to talk about first?
Well, let's just get it out of the way right now. You know we're here to do. You've seen the previous episodes. We got to talk about CLG losing.
No,
And this is
man.
this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, but this week it feels just a little bit worse than usual. And that is due to the game that they played against Immortals. Um, Now, for those of you who did not watch this game, first of all, don't. But second of all, this is a game that CLG was up 8,000 gold, and suddenly at 37 minutes, Immortals got the first kill of the game. Their first kill of the game, I should say. It was 5-0 until that point.
Mm-hmm.
Immortals got a kill at 37 minutes, and then they proceeded to win 5 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the worst game of the year for LCS. Probably up there with the worst games ever of LCS. It was horrible.
Okay. That's quite the start. Rafa.
I want to get the pessimism out of the way because everything else I have to say, most of everything else I have to say is very
I,
happy and hype and cool and good, but I want to get that out of the way
yeah, I
because
mean,
it was horrible.
here's the thing. When Freak and Azale are like getting ready to tear into CLG for their poor decision making and their just lack of ability to engage, um, and then Freak has to almost dial down and hold Azale back in the post game because he realizes, oh man, Azale really wants to just open a new one into CLG, and Freak is the one that's saying, hey, you know what? Immortals, good job, man. Because Freak has kind of had his streak of incorporating a lot of criticism into his play-by-play casting, which I don't think necessarily strikes well with everyone. But that is just one of those games where you're just like, Jesus, that is a
Yeah.
sad thing. But you know what?
Everybody agreed too, which was hilarious. Like
Yeah,
everybody on Twitter immediately was like, "That was terrible."
that
Everybody's
was
upset.
I had to cast that game.
Yeah. I haven't gone back and listened to that yet.
I'm I'm gonna go for like actually a slightly different perspective overall.
Okay.
I feel really bad for CLG, and this is
oh,
coming from someone
I
who
agree.
goes out of the way to say that CLG goes 0-7, which no other org has done yet, even till this week. And that isn't continuing for CLG because their academy team is actually looking well improved, and I'm really excited actually to talk about that. But that video being released, and then the Pobelter tweet, and then reading Sojin's thread about MSG and how that's the problem and how there are some gems at CLG. I know that we have a couple friends that are on the staff of CLG too. We're in Discord with them, and they were expressing how frustrated they were that that video even dropped. I'm going to give CLG a hall pass. And do I think that their roster move was the most intelligent? No. But do I think that most of the roster moves were intelligent going into the season to give themselves a chance to win the league? Also no. And because of that, I'm not going to tear into CLG. I feel really bad for the players, and it seems like a terrible environment to be on a team with. And those guys are trying to live their team or live their lives, be pros, and they can't do that because it's just brutal, and that sucks.
That's why it feels worse this week to shit on CLG.
It does,
because you could see how like hesitant everybody was for plays and everything, and that just doesn't happen unless you are in a situation where a single bad play could get you fired.
It's true.
Yeah, I wanted to make it clear that when we highlight these criticisms from CLG, you look at this roster, even without the pole belter switch to Demonte, you look at that roster, I imagine the other half of the orgs in LCS could have actually made that roster work. And there's something that is going on in the environment and the way that the players are being treated. I mean, we saw how terrible the PR is and the decision to even show the firing decision is. So it's like when we tear into CLG, we're not tearing into the players.
Well, we kind of are. But I'm going to change that and say that now we're going to tear into the staff. As I think that any blame for CLG, I'm going to aim at upper management, people involved with MSG, and overall coaching of their LCS team. Sure. And I think that is where the blame should go. And if that's the environment for those players, that's fucking terrible. No team deserves to do that, go through that, even in a competitive environment where you are playing at the highest level to win. Let's keep that in mind. Having that sort of pressure on your shoulders, you're never going to perform with that if that's the environment of your team. And so the people responsible for that environment of the team, which knowing the players and their personalities, I highly doubt is on them, by the way. As those guys are, our running joke is that they have the 5 best smiles in the LCS, which is true. They literally do. Like, I don't know. I feel really bad for CLG's players. I think they're getting a shit ton of flack for things that obviously they're not performing. They're in 10th. There's not really any way to go around that, but I don't really blame them. I blame the staff. All the visas are late. That's not on the players. Like, there's so many poor decisions that
we'll talk about the visas later too. There's another thing that the visas have affected now, as backlash.
But before we transition out of CLG and into the good stuff that Smax will, merrily lead us into as we all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. The last thing I want to touch on, just to really hammer it home for people at home, because Cubby touched up on something. 5 players that have some of the brightest smiles in the org. Look at fucking Wild Turtle, man. Wild Turtle, in losses throughout his entire career, he is a genuinely go-lucky, happy person.
Yeah, man.
Wild Turtle, even in some of the most brutal losses when he was on TSM or even on FlyQuest before, he was in good spirits. He kept a positive attitude. That loss against Immortals Academy this weekend, he was devastated. Not even set, fucking devastated. And when you put someone like Jason through that much, that makes me upset, dude.
I mean, also that was a pretty fucking terrible game. But I'm not going to choose to talk about that. I'm going to choose to talk about some other things that might be plaguing that org. So, yeah, I'm going to go easy on CLG this week and not talk about them too much. And I actually really feel for the players if everything that's being put in the public sphere is true. Because that's a really shitty environment to work in any job. Not just a job that's super competitive like that one. So, anyway, moving on. Since we started at the bottom, might as well move our way up from that. Golden Guardians.
Yeah. Golden Guardians had a pretty impressive week, all things considered. They stopped EG's win streak, and I mean that by itself is crazy because EG had just won.
Did they stop EG's win streak though, or did EG stop it themselves?
You know, you can't take away from Golden Guardians' dub. Okay, they got the dub.
What I can take away is that
what is it? They're 4-2 with Licorice now.
I think EG were testing a composition on stage. And I think it bit them in the ass.
Maybe. I still am. I'm pretty hyped for EG. There's another EG game that I want to talk about later. But
Smax, I think that conversation was Cubby trying to give credit to EG something like he wished credit was given to Danny and Ignar for MVP the week that Licorice.
At least Impact got it this week. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Speaking of that, actually,
but also that was a pity award.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the conversation between Danny and a Blaze Olive for Rookie of the Year, because I still don't think it's close, but people have been like heralding a Blaze Olive as potentially like in that conversation.
Mm-hmm. I think Blaze Olive deserves to be in that conversation. I think that if you go back and watch Golden Guardians wins, the influential playmaker and the difference maker in all those, especially before Licorice, was a Blaze Olive.
Yeah.
And yes, with Licorice, in 2 weeks, they have more wins than they had all of last summer.
Yeah.
Or last spring, my bad.
Right.
In the summer. But I think a Blaze Olive is actually, like, on a bottom tier team, he is a mid tier mid laner. Now, I think that Danny, the conversation for him is that he might be a top 3-4 AD. And I would still give Danny the edge, but also, if you look at both rosters, which team would you rather play on? Which team has more resources available for their team? So, if I had a vote, I'd still vote for Danny, but I'd give a Blaze Olive actually a lot of reason to be in the conversation. Also, with the meta shift, he went from being like a Syndra Zoe player to actually playing brawlers really well. His Lee Sin is very good.
True.
And he busted out Tom Kench mid lane, which
he pioneered the Showmaker Lucian build to NA, which I was watching his stream the night before where he was just testing builds on Lucian. I actually have a lot of respect for Blaze Olive. I think he's played really well this split.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think that he's like, because Perks and Jensen are underperforming, and I have them as like my 4th and 5th best mid laners in the LCS respectively, I can't really put a Blaze Olive above that, but I have him next at 6. I thought Kaizen's list of mids was actually really accurate. Like, I would have only changed like 1 or 2 things when they did that bit on the desk. I can't catch it because like it was in the clean feed, so I don't know like what they were saying. But I looked at the list, and I was like, yeah, I agree. So, yeah,
was that when he had Blaze Olive look at both him and High's list and was like, hey, which one is more accurate? Which one do you think is better? And Blaze Olive's like, even though I'm higher on High's list than yours, Kaizen, I think yours is more accurate. As well.
Dude, High had Yasui at like 6. That's pretty troll.
Yeah.
No offense to Yasui, but also Yasui's bottom 3 mid laner with Insanity and Pobelter, and that is now replaced by Demonte. Moving on. I don't really have much else about Golden Guardians. I think that they would be the most enticing 8th seed. I think they're more enticing than FlyQuest Academy, actually. Or FlyQuest, I should say. Ooh. Now, as we're going to talk about FlyQuest, speaking of 4-2, 4-2 with their swap. The Academy roster did drop 2 games against EG and Hunter Thieves, the 2 top teams in the league, I will say as well.
Yes.
The early games were not close. That's not the strength of FlyQuest Academy in the LCS, as I've noticed. Their early game is not the strength. They have to get to the mid game. Their mid game is really good, actually, for the LCS, but
before Smax takes over for FlyQuest, I will say that Tomo and Diamond were actually beating FBI and Huhi in lane in their match, which I found super dope. Now, I don't know if that 2v2 is supposed to go and play that way, because if it is, then it's okay. They can play out the lane.
They outplayed him in one of the 2v2s, but yeah. Overall, 100 Thieves bot lane still had a better game.
Sure.
That was impressive to me. I'm really enjoying watching FlyQuest play because, as you said, Cubby, the roster that we've seen just play all throughout this year are these 5 players plus or minus a support. Their late game has been their strength the whole time. That they were
From
the
spring,
late game team in Proving Ground Spring, and
it's not their late game. It's their their side lane and objective setups are way better than LCS teams actually. Like, go watch their game versus CLG. They had 3 scaling lanes, and they played out that game so clean. Like, really good stuff from FlyQuest. Like, that's what I like to see.
Well, I guess I made a too big of a generalist term in late game. But usually those things did end up with them getting huge late game advantages.
That was their entire advantage or entire thing in the spring, right?
Right. But something about those guys is just clicking so well with the way that they are able to do exactly that, Cubby. They're able to just make everything move around for them in those late game situations, in the side lanes and the objectives and everything. It just seems like they are super in line and in tune with what needs to happen there, and that's been true for the whole year. So, like, huge on the FlyQuest staff, huge on these 4 plus or minus a support players that have been able to do this like all throughout the year. It's been their trademark, and they're like you said, Cubby, they're doing it better than the LCS teams too. And that's this type of thing where you as a spectator for Academy are like, I wonder if 100 Thieves Academy are able to out team fight LCS teams. I wonder if FlyQuest Academy are able to out macro LCS teams. And we're getting tastes of that. And I think that's super cool. And I don't I don't know if I'm gonna like fully buy into the FlyQuest to Worlds meme that's going on now that they're making a resurgence,
Yeah.
but it is really cool to watch. And I think with FlyQuest having like a sort of spiral down year where they're not really expected to get to the Worlds position and they're not really expected to get very, very far after what we've seen so far throughout the entire year. The fact that they did sub in the Academy team and the fact that they are getting these wins in the way that they did in Academy 2 is just so cool. I'm a big fan of this team here.
Let's be real. Like when we talked about this, like we originally saw this swap, I said on the League Night podcast, like before they played a single game, that I think this is best for the team. Like they're actually fielding the better team they have out of the two, and that's even including the Karish Kumo, right? Like the Academy team is just playing better than the LCS team, like objectively watching the games, even against weaker opponents, like because they make good decisions later in the game, as you're highlighting, right?
Yeah.
Now, as we wrap up, so we have 6 games left in the LCS. There's currently
for each team.
Yes, for each team. CLG is 3 games behind FlyQuest. Golden Guardians is 1 game behind FlyQuest, that are currently holding the 8th seed. And there's a 4-game gap between them and Immortals. So I really don't see Immortals. Immortals win 1 more game and they're locked in the playoffs. But do you think that Golden Guardians can overtake FlyQuest for that 8th seed as they're 1 game back? And CLG is not looking likely. So
yeah,
I can give you each team's schedule too if you want me to.
I think it is likely between GGS and FlyQuest. I think that it'll probably be bold. I know.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be FlyQuest.
Okay.
And the reason for that is what you already said, is that their last 2 games were 100 and EG. They don't have to play those 2 teams anymore. So
Golden Guardians, I'll just give you the schedules for each team because Raafaa is going to make a decision as well, and I will too. Golden Guardians next week have COG, TSM, and TL. The next week after that, they have FlyQuest, the head-to-head. That's big. That's first day of week 9 on a new patch.
That might decide it, honestly.
On the new patch, by the way. GG FlyQuest. Then they have Hunter Thieves and IMT. Whereas FlyQuest, they have TL, C9, a team that Golden Guardians already played, and Dig, another team that Golden Guardians already played. And then they have GG, IMT, same as GG last week, and then they end with CLG. So FlyQuest actually played the bottom 3 teams in the league besides themselves in that last week. So if they can sneak out 1 win here, and by the way, FlyQuest should have went 0-3 this week. They beat TSM. Right? Like, TSM was up for 85% of that game, and then the last 3 minutes, FlyQuest said, this is how you team fight, and this is how you actually reset.
That was nasty. I love that.
Well, no. Raafaa,
for me, I'm going to hit you with a counter response. Doesn't matter, because they're getting in as the 8th seed.
But Raafaa, for content, it matters.
For content, the way I see it,
I know they're going to get booty blasted, but still.
Yeah, they're going to. So, like, for me, I think the only thing that I'm interested in is whether, like, it doesn't matter to me, because I think both FlyQuest and Golden Guardians would love to continue playing more games to give their players more time to show what they've improved on, because FlyQuest and Golden Guardians are in an upward momentum. I want to remind folks at home that Golden Guardians have already, I'm pretty sure, doubled their spring score at this point. Quadrupled.
Tripled.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Tripled. So, like,
they did have 3 wins. They got 9 this split. So
yes.
And they're going to get more.
So Golden Guardians have already, in my eyes, like, yes, they're not winning summer split, but for me, if we go back to the philosophy of that roster at the beginning of the year, that roster was never designed to win LCS. It wasn't. If you thought that, then you were smoking crack or doing some type of drugs because
It was designed to get one of the talent pieces bought out so they can afford to put a good roster on the field next year too.
oh, see,
Which they
I
have with
don't
Blaze Olive and Shime, who I'd consider some nice pieces now.
yeah,
Yeah.
I still think there are some better supports in Academy than Shime.
yeah,
But
I don't
Shime's been alright.
I know nothing about the whole aspect of managing talent. I never played FIFA Manager, which I wish I did because I would probably understand the math and
Raafaa,
science
I've
behind
got a
that.
You
great
gotta play
game to
Team Fight
recommend to you.
Manager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Team Fight Manager? Is this a
Oh
Team
yeah.
Fight Manager plug? Okay.
You learn, baby.
And
Anyway,
then we switched over to playing Team Fight Manager, and we tricked all of you into watching Cubby and I play our campaign.
they are. I think Josh is putting together like a 16 team or some
Yes.
type of tournament.
Well, Peter Dunn retweeted it, so I think they're going to be
Dude, I'm
more than
casting
16
that day. I
teams.
can't compete. I'm so
Oh
mad. Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
tragedy. But yeah, back to Golden Guardians. I mean, like that. Not even considering the buyout perspective. For me, I was just interested in how well you could improve fresh talent like Iconic and Niles within the year. Unfortunately, Niles went back to Academy because there was just a lot of glaring problems, and Golden Guardians needed to make a change going into summer. Niles goes back to Academy, and at least it's cool to see that Licorice feels a lot better in this team environment and setup. Not saying that FlyQuest didn't have a because their environment it's nothing like CLG. I'd rather be in FlyQuest and I'd rather be under CLG with the way the management are handling
How do you know?
their players right now. But um,
Oh.
yeah, I'm still on this kind of mindset that like what, whoever gets in there, FlyQuest and Golden Guardians are making good decisions in giving talent deserved play time. Like the movement of the academy team is awesome, and that the fact that they're pulling off wins speaks volumes about how actually having investment into an academy roster that is formidable pays off dividends, and it gives reasons to watch academy. I know it's not the financial best play, but or because there's obviously more than that goes into managing teams than just me being a NA fanboy and promoting talent.
Okay. I think Golden Guardians are playing better league, and they're going to be the one that actually overtake FlyQuest. So.
Well, what all this means is that we're just going to have to watch that game between the two of them in week 9.
It's actually a good game. Yeah. Speaking of good games, moving up in the standings, Immortals and Dignitas, 2 spots separating Immortals from potentially overtaking Dig for 6th, where you have 2 lives instead of 1. Big ramifications in the LCS. And they do meet game 1 of next week, so that is actually in reach for Immortals, especially if they win that game. That's a must-win for them, I will say.
I feel like they've got it.
What do we think about Immortals versus Dig? Who do you think do you think Immortals can close the gap for that 6th seed? Let's talk about those 2 teams.
Yeah, I think they will. More so because I am losing faith in Dignitas's LCS team by
They
the
beat
day.
100 Thieves this week.
Yeah. But they also played Kane this week. So
And they won.
2 sides of the same coin.
Kane's okay. You full clear in like 318.
Don't defend Kane on this show, Cubby.
All right. I'm an Acadian fan.
I mean, I think if Immortals
Okay. Very nice.
see the correlation, I mean, you can just ban Kane, or Xerxes also plays Kane, so he should know its best counter matchups. So you can have a strategy that plays into the Kane and actually play around it. I favor Immortals over Dignitas.
Yeah,
Really?
they have a 2-game gap that they have to overcome, right? So that is going to be pretty tricky. Just looking at this, Immortals still have to play against EG and 100. So that's not going to be easy for them, but the last game on this Friday will be Immortals Dignitas. So that will, after that one is locked in, we'll probably have a much easier time figuring out where that's going to end up. But I do favor Immortals, at least in the head-to-head.
I am really surprised that you guys are favoring Immortals to overtake those two games. Dig has already played EG 100 Thieves, by the way, this past week in this round robin. And they have a 2-game lead, and I think they're playing better league. Now, I will say they got cheesed by Golden Guardians a little bit, and I say cheese, but everything's part of the game, and it worked. I thought it was really well thought out count from Golden Guardians with the Tom Kench and the Yumi. I thought it was really clever. The EG game, they got blasted,
dude.
right?
Okay, just to talk about the EG game for a little bit longer than that. First of all, Impact is crazy, man. He's popping off in these games. I'm very excited about Impact and the rest of EG. But also listening to that cast was so fun because Azale and Freak had just finished casting the game that will not be named again, and then they get to this game and they're like, "Hell yeah, man, let's go!"
That TSM sale in between, which helped. It was a nice
Yeah,
palate
that
cleanser.
was good too.
Yeah, it was a nice palate
But
cleanser.
it was very fun. I felt very happy for Azale and Freak after listening to that. I was like, yes, they got a good game.
They're having fun.
Yeah.
Now, was it Saturday that Mark Z got his debut LCS game? It was
Mark
a
got the
Dignitas game,
cast.
right?
Uh,
Can we just talk
yeah.
about how wholesome and cute it was for at the end of the game? Mark Z is like they go back to Flowers and Mark Z, and then you got the whole LCS desk standing behind Mark Z, like, yeah, let's go, his first LCS cast. They're all
That was
just
awesome.
there,
I
like,
didn't see that. That's pretty funny.
it was so cute. Like like with Tigress, Kaizen,
It was awesome.
yeah, the whole on-air desk that was there for the
Good
day
for him.
was like, yeah,
That's
let's
cool.
go, good job, Marks. And then it's like, all right, get back to the fucking desk, or get back to work, guys. What are you doing? So, but anyway,
Yes,
the reason
Cubby,
why
you were saying about Dig.
yeah. So this is
Also
going to be
Raafaa.
my final argument, and there's no logic involved in this one, and why I favor Immortals. I don't have faith in Dignitas to win because they continue to field Yusui over Soligo for their LCS squad. So that already just for that I want Immortals to win because Soligo deserves more respect. So
I think that, oddly enough, I think Dig have the easier schedule. They have 2 games, and I think Dig takes it. I'm like not a huge fan of like how either team are playing at the moment, and I think that Immortals have a higher ceiling.
sure.
But I'm gonna go with Dig, and I don't think that Dig are playing as bad as you painted it. Even though the EG game was bad, right?
It was very bad.
It was bad. Fake God was either 1 W or 1 canceled auto, I believe, away from getting that solo kill on Impact and that turning. Also, while we're talking about that game, only time I'll plug League Day, but seriously, go check League Day GG's Twitter because I interviewed Jizuke, and he just maniacally laughed about the game for 3 minutes straight, and it's the funniest shit I've ever heard. Like, he dropped some F-bombs, like, it was the most Divival interview I've ever heard in my life.
Hilarious.
It was so funny.
That game, the solo kill you're talking about, Cubby, when Fake God's playing Volibear and he's fighting Impact mid, I was like, this guy's not tenacity, he's gonna die. I was in call with Dimitri, and then he just dies. I'm like, told you. He gets solo kill there every time. Tenacity gets that kill every single time. That was awesome.
The Peter Dunn knows, you know?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Right. Well, that said,
yeah.
I'm going to push us forward through both those teams as we are already 30 minutes into our late night stream. And talk about the Fifth Boys team, who, nice transition. It is EG. As EG are... Oh, no, wait, no, they're not 5th. That's the Academy
They're not 5th.
standings.
They're 3rd.
It's the Academy standings. Team Liquid, my bad, who are 4 games up on Dig, are 1 game away from locking a top 6 scenario. They will be top 6. But what are our thoughts on Team Liquid?
I don't think they're going to Worlds. And I think that's what they want to do. So.
Why?
I Well, firstly, I think that going into the split, we all three of us thought that they were one of the favorites to go to Worlds, alongside Cloud9 and question mark team that we all picked a different one for.
Hmm.
I don't think that any of us expected that both EG and 100 Thieves would pop off. I know that 100 or EG was my team that I wanted that I was guessing would go to Worlds with them. Cubby, you picked 100.
Hmm.
Mark, what was your pick? Was it TSM?
Yeah, that was my third seed pick.
Yeah.
Because we were assuming that Cloud9 and Team Liquid were going to be
Right.
the two
Yeah,
seeds.
exactly.
Now it's completely reversed.
Right.
At this point, 100 Thieves feels like they're the confirmed number 1 seed.
I think EG is going to go to Worlds too at this point.
So the way I see it, Smax, I think 100 Thieves and TSM are the confirmed 2 seeds coming out of NA. And now it is a race for the 3rd seed between EG, Cloud9, and Team Liquid. So there is a world where we don't see any of our 2 finalists from spring finals,
right?
Which is fucking crazy. It is so crazy. But Cloud9 and Team Liquid are, I mean, Team Liquid's got shit going on behind the scenes, so they can't have a consistent, stable roster. Cloud9 made the choice to, put King in over Sven, and I don't think that detracted, or if it was a bad choice, that was just their choice. But now, even with Sven back in the roster, and they should be quote unquote stable again. You look at their losses, and it seems like Fudge is the only person that is keeping that team together.
Fudge is actually quite good.
Yeah.
I agree with you actually.
I think Fudge is the best top laner in the league this split.
Yeah.
I think Fudge is the best top laner. I think he's the best player on this team, and I think he is a big part of why they're getting wins. The thing that I'm sorry to dive right over Team Liquid, Cubby. I'll get back to that in a second. But the biggest thing that happened this week for Cloud9 that made me like take a step back and be like, oh, this is not a good spot to be in, was actually not gameplay related, and it was the next level show with Tactical. Because Tactical on that show was asked about what 80 carries he thinks are good, and he was asked specifically about Sven, and he's like, Sven plays to not lose. He doesn't pressure anything. If Sven is throwing an Ezreal Q in lane, 90% of the time it is hitting a minion. You don't have to worry about it if you're playing against Sven. If you're playing against FBI, you have to worry about that. And then there was another AD as well. I think he might have been Danny, that he said, if you're playing against those guys, then you have to worry that they're going to attack you. But if you're playing against Sven, you don't have to worry about it. You're just playing to farm.
I mean, Danny is playing with fucking big ball confidence because he's a rookie and he has nothing like that. That's kind of the beautiful thing about having new fresh talent. I mean, Tactical should know where that comes from since he came in for Team Liquid last summer, and him being fresh to the roster was like the spark that Team Liquid needed to make that push as the first seed.
To be fair to Sven, oftentimes it's not his role to carry through lane too. Like a lot of their setups, it's been about like Perks and Fudge in this meta. And also, sometimes Tackles, his balls get a little bit too big.
Yeah,
true.
But no, I can
Same
see where
for
he's
Danny.
going with that. Yeah,
I remember many Callista flashes in. Yeah, but that was, first of all, if any of you are listening and you haven't been tuning into Next Level, go watch all the Next Level content. It's so good.
It's a Kelsey Emily ran.
Media's is amazing.
Yes, and the it's good. This
Kelsey was on it. Emily was on it. Tactical was on it this week. It was awesome. Go watch that, please. Those people are all more qualified than us. And it's not live at 11:30 p.m. So you can go tune into that. But anyway, that really shook my confidence for Cloud9. Just hearing another player in the league talk about the play style of Cloud9. And I hear what you're saying, Cubby. It's not Sven's like it's not his prerogative to do that. He is the scale player for this team. But at the same time, like if Sven's not doing that and we're not getting the same aggression from Blabber, it's definitely feeling like deja vu of last year, where Cloud9 were super explosive at the beginning of the year and they were popping off and they were killing everyone, and then they ended up fourth and they didn't go to Worlds.
The secondary one is where I'm more concerned for C9, and that's that I tweeted this out before C9 played a single game of MSI, is that Blabber has historically had a small champion pool and a role that, to be fair, does not require a large champion pool, right? In any given meta, there's only going to be 4 or 5 junglers that are really viable. That's just how it is with the role. It requires too many things. And going into MSI, it was a very different jungle meta with Morgana, Rumble, Diana, Udyr still, right? He didn't do as well in that tournament as he was doing in NA in a different meta against domestic opponents.
That's
In
why
this
we saw
different
him
jungle meta-
prioritize Udyr over the other two junglers during that whole time.
To be fair, that became the
Shows I
meta.
missed a button on my shirt.
Yeah. To be fair, that became the meta. Also, to be fair, yes, someone had to. And I think that we've seen him actually return to Olaf, Lee Sin's back, and I think this is going to bode well for C9 moving forward. But his Diana's not nearly as good as Spica's and some of the other Dianas that we have in the league. And he doesn't seem like the same Blabber that we're used to seeing in past splits, and I think that this is somewhat hurting C9. Now, the thing that I like the most about C9 is that Vulcan, in the last game of the day yesterday, put together the best support game I've seen out of any support in the LCS in a long time on that Thresh. And if Vulcan can start to play like that, I really think that that could help C9 kind of get over the edge, because if I see any weakness in 100 Thieves, e.g., TSM at the moment, it's actually how their supports are moving. I think Hui is doing really well. I think that Ignar is sometimes held back because they like to play a lot of Senna lanes, which I respect. Once again, you have to play towards the Senna. And when he gets Rakan, he's had like some really nice moments. But my God, if Vulcan plays like that and covers dives like that, oh, that is game-changing for C9. And I think that C9 needed a spark like that, and they look much better in the last game of the day. And I'm surprised you guys are writing off TL and C9 like this, because they're the teams with the most experience. And once we get the best of fives, that matters. There's a reason that we've always seen teams like TL, TSM, C9 do well in these leagues. And a part of that is best of 5 experience.
So, TL, in order to have the acclaimed experience that you're saying, they will need to put in Santorin again.
Well,
and they haven't done that
that's health issues for Santorin. And at this
Yeah.
point, I don't even know if it's best for it to put in Santorin again, because how much practice are going to have with him, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough decision.
I think Team Liquid will be fine with Armeo as the jungler.
Yeah,
because Armeo's
not bad.
Yeah. And the
He's proven he's
experience,
very good.
I don't think
Absolutely.
it's going to be missed out from Santorin. Not trying to take anything away from Lucas.
To be fair, Armeo was playing in the best of 5s too, you know?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Armeo was the person that beat TSM when Santorin had to come out for spring semifinals. So, like, the Team Liquid can definitely get to that point. My concern is, are Team Liquid even gonna last that long? Because the playoffs rounds, it's not best of 5 until semifinals, if I'm not mistaken, or quarterfinals best of 5s as well.
I don't remember. I
let
thought
me
it was
check.
just best of 5 the whole way.
Let me check.
Oh, is it really?
I thought it was. I could be
Okay.
wrong on that one.
I
But
could be.
like for the first round, like
casting-
the 7th and 8th teams are
semi-pro makes me just think now that everything is best of 3 until the finals.
No, it's all best of 5. It's all best of 5.
Yeah, okay. That's what
All
I
right.
assumed. Because
All
one,
right.
there are no best of 3s at Worlds, and two, if you're a 7th seed team and you play a best of 3 and you lose and you're just out, that feels really shitty. We know because we do proving ground stuff.
Now,
yeah.
returning to this subject at hand, I will say that Team Liquid at the moment are very one-dimensional. It is, we're going to play Varus, we're going to get Core JJ to roam top and just try and top lane Kingdom for Alfari. And the reason that we saw them drop this week to, well, I guess not to IMT. That was a different game. But the reason that we've seen like TL or drop to TSM is that they turned that. That's what I was looking for.
Right.
TL's early games have actually been pretty good. I thought that game against 100 Thieves, even though they lost, they played it out pretty well. That was a very close game. Like some of the fights were just moments away from going in the favor of TL. I think 100 Thieves had better setup, and there's a reason they won the game. But I think TL's early game is really good. My concern is that the two best teams that we have in the league right now, 100 Thieves and EG, I don't know if TL can get through either of those with their early game in a best of 5, but I'm just kind of surprised that you guys are, it sounds like you're writing off TLC9 when they're the teams that have the experience playing in best of 5s and going international.
So we're saying that it's a race for 3rd seed. So like
I'm saying that there are 5 teams that I think could go to Worlds in any order, and I would not be surprised once best of 5 come around.
Sure.
I would be surprised.
I'm still putting my preference that I think 100 Thieves and TSM are going to be coming out as the first 2 seeds.
Okay.
So like I feel like there's a misunderstanding that we're saying, oh yeah, Cloud9 Team Liquid are trash. No, they're still the best teams.
Oh, I'm not saying they're trash. I'm just, it doesn't seem like, at least like for like from Smax's perspective, like some at yours, like I'm surprised that it's like, all right, it's 3rd seed or bust for them at the moment.
So
don't get me wrong. I don't think that TL or C9 are playing the best league at the moment, but they were our finalists for a reason. And once best of 5s come around, I have faith they're going to pick it up a little bit, honestly.
Domestic, by the time we get into playoffs, like I'm looking at 100 Thieves and TSM to be our top 2 going into playoffs. Now, like you said, best of 5s completely changes the landscape of these things. You get to actually, like, we're no longer in fucking best of 1s. Going from best of 1s to best of 5s is a huge jump, and it allows for teams to show better adaptation. And so I would not be surprised then if, you know, Team Liquid and Cloud9 show up better in longer drawn out series, right? Because, you know, I have to remind once again, even though like TSM doing much better in best of 1, TSM lost to TL in best of 5 to a sub jungler. And, you know, even though I think Spica is one of the better junglers, I would say like top 2 junglers in the league, that, you know, you TSM Spica can't 1v9 every game on TSM as there's.
Did you see Closer's Olaf?
Yeah.
Closer's Olaf yesterday.
I mean,
that was very, very good.
Oh, dude.
To be fair, he should have never had to be in that position to save the game like that, but he did. So, you know.
Yeah. Oh god, that was nutty. Okay. Before I fanboy over Closer. I also have a preference on like, or I guess a prediction is how I would put it. For like what team I think is going to go to Worlds, and I admittedly do not have Team Liquid in that right now. I personally think it's going to be 100 and EG and TSM in that order, actually. So I guess I'm in that way. I guess you could say I am writing off TL and C9 in the best of 5 setting, but with the way that I'll defend EG a little bit more because Mark seems to not have them locked in yet. With the way that they're playing in the last few weeks, like they're currently what is it, like 10-1 in the last 4 weeks? 10-2, I guess it would be.
12-1 in the last 13 games.
Yeah. These are all best of 1s though. So once we get to see best of 5, I think I will be sold on Evil Geniuses when I see their first 2 best of 5s. And that will be from how they use contracts in the series adaptation. Because I don't know
if they need to. Because I think that the way that they're playing
a whole other level.
I think the way that they're playing all their lanes right now is just so sick. Like I think Impact is approaching Fudge for the best top laner in the league for sure. Like the way that he's playing all these games is absolutely insane. And then of course you have Danny just triple killing people
I
all
mean,
the time.
the biggest change for EG though was the fact that even in the first week where like they went 0-3, Jizuke was getting early leads with EG. He was just throwing them. Jizuke is not throwing them anymore. He's been playing out of his mind. If there's any member we're going to talk about turning around EG, it's Danny. It's Danny and Ignar getting comfortable. But for me, it's mostly Jizuke. And Jizuke's really been the member that's
I think it's
stepping
all
up.
one and the same, really.
Yeah.
Like when you have a lead early and then you're trying to transition it to late, especially when you're playing a high econ champion on your team, super important to have the comfortability and have the wherewithal to allocate where you're sending all of your high econ champions. Because if you're Jizuke and you have your lane lead, and then you're trying to like drill sergeant Danny and yourself and whoever the third carry is to each lane, it can get a little dicey when you're a new player is on your team and everything. So I think the fact that he's not throwing and the fact that he is staying consistent with the way that his leads are progressing throughout games is also on the fact that Danny is melding more with the team and that he's working better with Ignar.
It is.
They're doing all this stuff very well.
Also, Jizuke is oftentimes, like with him and just how EG plays, like weak side split pusher. And there have been some instances where he has died and it's actually been beneficial for the team. Like teams are overcommitting to take him down, and he's actually like, oh shit. I'm trying to think of like a specific for this because I think it was them. It was last week. I think it was the EG game versus Immortals or something. Like he got picked off like on a side, but like, it was actually good for EG. Like they took more or some shit. It was recently. Peter Dunn was also defending him on Twitter because he was mad that people were still calling out Jizuke for like randomly flipping or dying. But like sometimes deaths are.
Oh, the Azale tweet, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to reference. And I like went back and watched. And I was like, yeah, it's like actually.
This against
good.
Cloud9.
Jizuke, yeah, that's it. Thank you. I knew it was from previous week. Yeah. So I think Jizuke's playing really well. He's up there as an MVP candidate. I think it's well deserved. For me, I seriously think that the MVP candidates, it should be Abadage. But I think the other two for me are actually Jizuke and Svenskeren. I think they're the ones that are playing out of their mind.
I am happy that I don't have to be as strongly for the Jojopion LCS waiting room as I used to be. At the
Oh no, I still am, but not. I mean, EG is probably going to take him. I just want to see that kid play in LCS no matter what.
Yeah. But
yeah,
like, my purpose was if you're gonna have a volatile player like Jizuke, and have someone just as volatile as Jojopion, but actually be a domestic talent and be something that you can grow for the next few years, then what's the point? But now that Jizuke is playing a much better game and is no longer as volatile, and Evil Geniuses are facilitating him to make sure that he is able to transition these leads into the mid game, where he can be an actual force either in a side lane in 1v1 if he's playing assassin like LeBlanc, or if he's just going to be a team fight menace and then you get Evil Geniuses all on the same page and coordinate fights. The reason why I'm excited for contracts to come in, I know we say we don't need to because Svenskeren has been playing also better.
It's still cool.
The second half split. I think there's a huge advantage to swapping out your junglers in the series, win or lose. More than likely, we would only see it in a loss because junglers, when you are watching the game, you get to see the other junglers pathing, unbiased, unobscured, because you get to see the whole map, right?
Yeah.
And so then you get to plan a game. You get to make a game plan going straight into game 2, saying, okay, this is what we want to do. This is how we pathed in the last game. It's something that SKT did exceptionally well when they had Blank and Bangy back during their 2016 days. I think that Evil Geniuses could show that. And if they display that in the best of 5s going into playoffs, then I will be sold on them as one of the top 3 seeds going into Worlds. If they don't, then I'm not like against them going or getting out of Worlds, but if you show that flexibility and you show that like next step thought process, then you have a really like fleshed out team with a lot of versatility.
Okay. Only other team we haven't talked about yet from the LCS really is 100 Thieves and TSM. Top 2 teams in the league, standings-wise. I'm going to get this conversation started with TSM. I know TSM dropped to FlyQuest 2-1. If you're a TSM fan, this was the best week of play you could have asked for from TSM. Because I think that their biggest weakness has been their early game. I'm not alone in that. And I know they dropped to FlyQuest in an ugly manner. They got caught with a bad split reset that FlyQuest punished, and they won the game off of it. Props to FlyQuest. But TSM smashed them in that game, in the early game. TSM should have won that game. And I know if you're a TSM fan, you can be disappointed that you lost to an Academy roster. But if you are a TSM fan that wants to go to Worlds, the fact that you went 2-1 in the fashion you did this week was the best news you could have gotten for TSM. They played that game against Team Liquid very cleanly. Very, very cleanly. They got through the early game. They lost gracefully. They responded correctly to a lot of TL's plays. And then when push came to shove, the moment that they saw Varus with no flash, PoE trades his flash to guarantee a 3-man scoop, and the game's over. It was a really impressive performance from TSM. And I think we saw good early games from them, but we also saw what makes them an exciting team in the LCS, that their mid to late game decision-making is very good.
TSM's PoE's Azir was one of the 3 plays that I am still like highlight reeling in my head from this week. So that was one of them. Closer's Olaf is one of them, and then the other one is from Academy. So we'll talk about that later. But PoE hype is back on the menu. I'm super excited about this guy. And yeah, I'm thrilled with TSM. I think the form that they're in, they should do very well in the best of 5s. I think that Sword Art, like there's been some criticism of him about like engaging too often and his team is not following him up. But truthfully, as a support, I would much rather that than not doing enough. And we're seeing the results of why that is.
Anyone that's saying that has never watched Sword Art play in his career before. So
agreed. And they're working through that, and they're getting better at like playing with Sword Art's aggression and everything. It's very cool. It warms my heart as a support to see him, and also Yursan as their academy support, being able to go for crazy engages, because those are the kind of plays that get me very excited, because those are the kind of plays that I would do in my ranked games and stuff like that. I'm not as good as those players, but it has a special place in my heart. So I'm very happy that TSM is doing well through those means.
I think that even though it was 2-1, they dropped to FlyQuest. I think that if you're a TSM fan, it's a great week, and you should be ecstatic with how your team played. Because better early games, good decision-making throughout. They made one mistake that cost them the game. That was a bad reset. That's easily fixable. A part of the reason that happened is because that's something that only really, I think, an Academy team would actually go for and pull off, just given how the teams had played, and props to FlyQuest for doing that and winning the game off that play. But still good news for TSM, right? Like, they lost in a way that we don't see them lose ever, and I'm not worried about that if I'm a TSM fan. Mm-hmm. So 100 Thieves. Raafaa, do you have anything for the top team in the league still?
Dude, Abadage is like, yeah.
Closer Olaf.
Dude, everyone was saying, Olaf. Like, oh, I think Abadage can be like a, we'll see if he's better than PoE. Like, I think that was my entire argument for 100 Thieves, is that I thought that Abadage could be better than PoE, and that's how 100 Thieves could like beat TSM and then go to Worlds as a 3rd seed, right? He's better than everyone. He's gonna be the he's gonna be the league MVP. He's so good.
Here's my question that I want to know: how much did 100 Thieves pay for Abadage? And I want to compare that amount to how much Cloud9 paid for Perks, because if it's anywhere less than 6, how much was Perks? 6 million?
5 million.
5 million was. Cloud9 got fucking skamazed, man. Holy shit. I mean, like, the brand in itself carries a lot.
Dude, I cannot wait for C9 to make it to Worlds off of Perks just carrying in best of 5s, and for you to just fucking eat your words off that.
Sure. Like I'm fine with that. I'm fine to take that. But I'm just saying for Abadage to come right into the split and perform like that, whereas Perks it took like the first half of the spring split for him to adapt to Cloud9 and then get to the best of fives in the playoffs for then the Perks like to show why Cloud9 paid that much money for him. Like, don't get it twisted. I've been a Cloud9 fan since 2013, even before when they were still Quantic Gaming. So like, I want Cloud9 to do well.
He's been a fan since the Balls interview.
What rubs me the wrong way is when orgs are shelling out shit tons of money for players, and it just and they're getting mixed results with it. It's like, man, why didn't you just like? Because then I want to push my agenda of like, dude, just go fucking cheap and pick up domestic talent. If you're not getting guaranteed wins and guaranteed results for that money, then you're losing out. Obviously.
Now, hold on. This is not the only change that 100 Thieves made going into this split, keep in mind.
I know. They also picked up Reaper, and so that's incredible as well. And that should not be taken away in any regards. But when you think about this 100 Thieves roster and how so many people were talking about, like, I don't have any opinion on DeMonte was the problem, Ryoma was the problem. I don't care if, like, you could say whatever negative stuff you want about them. I think you can only just talk massive props to how the 100 Thieves made the two single best roster additions, and they did it cost efficiently wise compared to
Golden Guardians are trying to do that with Licorice too. But
sure. Yeah. I mean, but they're not going to.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're going to get into.
They're not competing for Worlds, right?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that 100 Thieves
was, as Papa Smithy said in that in the press release, we are trying to get to Worlds, and this is going to be the best way to do it.
He was right.
Good fucking shit, Chris.
Yeah. I think that 100 Thieves this week, they did drop a pretty tough game to Dignitas. I slightly credit it as they were trying something new. I think that both them and EG are starting to try things new before best of fives come around. As it's tougher to do things on stage than it is do things in a best, like, in scrims. Especially in a best of five, you want to have strategies practiced. I love Diana Yasuo. They did not execute it. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It is hard, but I do think that the first team to pull that off is just gonna rake in the LP. Like, that combo is very, very good.
It's
Both
good.
those champions
It's good in the
are
Lucian.
strong.
You can abuse Lucian with it. We've seen it in LPL. And Closer and Abadage were not synced up. Or I believe that was against Golden Guardians, actually, week 6. What did they try against Dig? I want to make sure I'm right in this one. Give me a sec.
Is it not that?
No, that was what they did against Golden Guardians, was Diana Yasuo. Their loss against Dig this week was to the Kane. Kane got the quad, and they were playing.
Oh yeah, I was talking about that earlier.
Yeah, but they were trying the new Tom Kench with Hui, which ended up working out. Or someone talked about new TK. Who was it? Dreams. Dreams thinks it's really good. That's from Academy though. Yeah. I think 100 Thieves are fine. I think that. I have 100 Thieves sneaking in the Worlds as a 3rd seed. I don't have them as a top 2 team once best fives come around. I think that TSM can match their early game, and they make better decisions as the game goes on. And I think that EG is playing the best league in the league right now. And
I will give you that I think Spica is a better jungler than Closer. And the reason why...
I think Spica is really overrated. But he has hard carry games on Diana. His pro view does look really good. But him and Sword Art still make some iffy decisions sometimes. And that's the biggest issue that TSM has to work on.
So let me tell you why. Like, you know... When you look at TSM's wins... in the first half of the summer split, when Azir and Orianna and Control Mages were not even in the question for mid lane. It was all about fighters. It's all about AD mids. PoE did not look as comfortable or as good on those picks as he does with his bread and butter champions, Orianna and Azir. He is serviceable on 80 mids, but you cannot tell me they're anywhere as good as Azir. And there's a reason why TSM mid laners have been historically very, very damn good on control mages when you think of Bjergsen and his Azir in the past when he was still playing for this team. And the fact that Spica has brought TSM wins despite PoE not having the best lane setup in mid lane either in the past, whereas Abadage is just consistently winning every single fucking lane. It's much easier for Closer to play his game when his lanes are just some of the best in the league. TSM doesn't always have that luxury. Lost and Sword are losing lanes sometimes. PoE was losing lanes sometimes in the first half of the summer split. But now that we're back in this control mage meta where PoE can play those, then
I mean, I think Closer's been better than Spica, but I actually think Sven is better than Spica, and that's probably an argument that most fans would not agree with as much.
Sven Karen.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
Okay.
think Closer is the best.
Closer's
so good.
I would actually, of late, I'd actually take Sven. But given the whole year, yeah, Closer. I have Spica third at the moment. I think that the hype for Spica, he's still the best jungler the TSM's had since Sven, but I still see there's still mistakes in his play. And I think that doesn't. I think a lot of it's communication with a sword art, but I think that
Sure.
doesn't, like.
They've got time to fix that, though.
People are getting a little bit ahead of themselves on the Spica train sometimes, and I want to pull back on that a little bit, as I have high expectations for the player. I don't have him as
people think
top
he's
of his role.
MVP.
I think it's more
exactly.
respectable to put Sven Skaren higher up than Spica than it is for Closer because Evil Geniuses for a while wasn't winning every single lane. And so Sven Skaren has to do a lot more to salvage those lanes than Closer does on 100 Thieves. I just think that anytime a jungler is being pushed as the number one in the scene when the team is already number one, and because every single lane is number one, it's as a jungle main, it's like, of course you're gonna look fucking good because you don't have to.
Closer's also just so clutch.
I think
I'm a big
that
Closer fan,
the
but
100 Thieves, like him and Abadage have been a good duo. I don't know what else to say about this. I think that it's an interesting conversation before the three. I think that I'll close out the LCS segment with my last word is that the reason that EG are 12-1 is that go back and look how they draft. They're just fucking kingdoming everyone in draft. And every team should draft like EG. I think that's why I have faith in them in a best of 5. More faith in them actually over 100 Thieves at the moment. And I got nothing else to say. So I'm kind of curious if you guys have any closing thoughts on LCS.
We talked a lot about LCS. We still have some more stuff to talk about.
Spent an hour on LCS, so it's time to go to Academy.
Yeah,
we can blaze through this actually.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't anything too crazy in Academy. I'll start this off, if I may.
Mhm.
The most interesting thing to me was two things. One is that TSM is still committing a lot of time to Sword. And two is that C9 and 100 are slumping. And I'm pretty surprised about that second one, but I am more surprised about the first one, actually.
But with Sword, they're playing a different style, different champions, and they're still winning. Sword was 2-1 this week.
They are still winning more than they're losing. And I think this team is really coming together. I'm pretty impressed with Hyper.
Go on your son hype train segment.
Yeah. So you spoiled it. I was leading up to it. It was gonna be so natural and everything.
It's good. It's deserved. Go for it. I want to hear it.
Your son was the best player in the league last week. For TSM and also for just all of Academy. This guy is so insanely clutch in the team fights. I am pretty sure that if TSM Academy were to put Yerson on like an enchanter, that they would lose 100% of their games. Just because the way that he's team fighting on engaged tanks, notably the Alistar, is so good. And this is a league as well where I am very high on quite a few of the supports, actually. Ayla's still very good. Isles is still very good. Poom is still very good. But I think that Yurson is making a name for himself to be in that conversation and potentially higher too. I think that Yurson should probably be up for consideration for like an LCS support spot for a next split if he continues to play like this, because he is so good on every single champion that he's playing. It's really insane. He is elevating this team to crazy new heights. And this is a team that I already was very hyped about because of Takeover and how he was elevating Hyper. I think I think TSM is a really big contender. Again, I said the exact same thing last week. I'm saying it again. I'm still very, very high on TSM Academy.
Okay.
Go watch TSM Dignitas, specifically for the moment where your son had one of the best hooks of the year.
Oh my God.
That was fucking nasty. I've
Yeah.
seen like solar flare reads on the dark passage because you know where they're going to be, so you just target the thresh as they're grabbing dark passage. But catching Ziggs in the middle
so
of the
insane.
dark passage, throwing out the hook before even click the lantern. If they're playing on like 20 ping or whatever the playing in LA is like, there's potentially a moment where Spawn can think, oh, he's throwing a hook. You know what? I'm not gonna go for this dark passage. If you can see
it's a very tight window.
But it's a very tight window, right? So like that's still your son is fucking insane.
And his Alistar against FlyQuest Academy too was disgusting. He was solo winning them the games.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good at Alistar Nautilus.
That was a very good series, by the way. If there's any series of Academy that I recommend you to go watch, it's the TSM FlyQuest one.
Really,
that one was so good. Yeah,
I would actually say the TLA C9 one. I know it's a 2-0. I thought those games were played pretty well.
That okay.
That was
pretty sick too.
Yeah. Team Liquid is the only other team I want to talk about in Academy because I think everything else is either as expected, apart from 100 Thieves kind of slumping. But at the same time, when you look back at the beginning of Summer Academy and you see moments where like Kenvi is just saying, dude, I'm a better player. I'm gonna flip this play. And most of the time he was a better player, and so he skill checked people. But now there's moments where 100 Thieves are starting to lose their footing. Now
TL are tied with 100 now, by the way.
Yeah.
In second.
Team Liquid. This is with.
They're actually up because they have more 2-0s.
This is with Inori in the roster.
There it is.
This is with Dokla in the roster.
Yeah.
So 2 new additions in the roster because of all the shit that is happening with the LCS roster. I mean, fucking huge props to the Academy squad, to Spawn, their coach, and all the coaching staff behind the scenes for Academy, for Team Liquid, because for you to give up potentially the best top laner that was in Academy in Jenkins and have him split time with Alfari in LCS, to now have Dokla come in and he's doing sufficiently well for the squad and their purposes. Inori is coming in for Armeo, who considerably does a good job for Team Liquid, even when Santorin is gone, just based on prior results. Team Liquid is still fucking doing well, and in their 2-0 series against Cloud9, and they 2-0'd who was the other team that they 2-0'd on Thursday the next day, Cubby? Was it?
They won one against IMT, but we didn't get to see it.
Oh, okay.
That was one, yeah.
Okay.
And that,
right,
I'm
so
sure.
Okay.
So for me too, those are the 2 best teams in Academy at the moment, because FlyQuest now have Philip, 100 Thieves are on a bit of a down, and
EG's really inconsistent these weeks.
C9's not there. EG had a 3-1 though, and they looked much better, which I think they're worth talking about as well. I don't know what Spawn's flowchart is for the early game with his teams, or who's calling that. I've always really liked TLA's early games, and for me the big difference has actually been I owe Smax this, at least this week from what I saw, was Harry. I think Harry on the Aurelia and on the Brawlers was very good. I was very pleasantly surprised with Harry's play, and he was the big difference maker in their games up against C9. Even though Copy played, C9 were like playing scaling comps, and they just got beat. Like it wasn't like C9 was playing terrible. Like they opted for scaling, and TL beat them with the early game. So, props to Inori for really stepping in last second. His Diana was very good in that series, and then I thought Inori and Harry played very well together. So, I was pleasantly surprised, as Harry's been a player that, for me, is not middle of the pack mid in the academy, but he had a top of the table performance in that series. So yeah.
I agree with your take that TL and IMT are fighting for the top 2 spots. Still think TSM's in there, but those are definitely my top 3 right now.
Okay, I think TSM's like middle of the pack, but
I mean,
know,
you also you have to
I'm
also
hyped. I'm hyped about TSM.
So here's the thing though, Smax. You have to remember that there's only going to be and this is what I kind of want to wrap up Academy, as we got to get through semi-pro as well after this.
Giving Academy 10
you have to
minutes.
remember there's only 6 spots for Academy playoffs. TSM are currently 7th in the standings.
Oh, they make it. They're in for sure.
Okay. So there is 100 Thieves, Team Liquid, Cloud9, Evil Geniuses.
You want their schedule? This
Immortals.
might help.
Okay, yeah. Let's
see. So TSM,
they're playing CLG and then TL. And by the way, I do want to mention CLG, because CLG, I know they went 1-3, but they went 2-2 last week, and I think that CLG is actually, they're still bottom of the table team. They haven't gotten to 2-0 yet, but they're much improved in the last few weeks. So I do want to give the Academy team a little bit of due credit. Their wins, they've had a couple really clean wins, and they play scaling comps actually very well. So I know they're a bottom table team. I want to give them a little bit of their due. So they play CLG and then TL.
So here's my hot take.
I think they get blanked.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is gonna be a little bit fucky. I think that TSMA are going to overtake Cloud9 as their last set of the regular
they do play
split.
them last.
I think that series is going to make TSM get in, and I think it's going to take C9 out.
But C9 have CLG and Dig this week, and I think that C9 could go 4-0.
But I also think that C9 is going to go 0-4 in the last week.
Yeah, Immortals are really good. And I think Immortals, though, they have a pretty tough schedule left, actually. They have to play FlyQuest, who with Philip are weaker, but it's still Palafox and Jose.
IMT actually have probably the toughest week imaginable.
They do.
Toughest
then
rest
EG,
of the schedule imaginable.
and then C9, and then TL. So they're playing the 2 top teams we just named, and then 2 teams that we expect to get in top 6.
Yeah. You know what? If TSM doesn't make it into playoffs, then so be it. I'll get to cast their games at UGP, so it's a win-win.
All right. I have no with the top 7 teams. Honestly, with all 10 Academy teams, I have no concern about any of them missing proving grounds.
Oh
really
no, I don't think so.
I don't think anyone's missing proving grounds. I think one team that we haven't talked about yet. Do we want to talk about 100 Thieves Slump? And then also, do we want to talk about Golden Guardians at all? I want to talk a little bit about EG, because I know that EG, we've kind of called them the dirty burger flippers, but also we have faith in their roster and coaching staff, as they did top 4 last split, and they had a nice 3-1 this split, or this week, where they 2-0 GG pretty convincingly, and they split with 100 Thieves in what was 2 banger games.
So
1.5 kill a minute, anyone?
To start with EG, they are severely nerfed for this split compared to Spring. And that is because their LCS team, first of all, is still in season. The LCS season goes way longer than Academy. But also their LCS team is probably, I think they're going to Worlds. I think they're going to be making a run for that. With those 2 things in mind, the LCS staff will not be available to help EG Academy, which was true of Spring. So that by itself, it may not feel like much, but even the players that were involved with their comeback story from 10th to top 4 did credit people like Peter Dunn for helping them out a lot. So I don't think we can ignore that. I do think that they are still playing rather inconsistently. I think the same of 100 Thieves, actually. I think this ties in with both of them. I think that they are taking a lot of fights that only lead to fights rather than expanding it to other things.
They just send it.
Yes, which is very fun to watch. I love watching both of these teams a lot because of those two things. It's just like skill expression out the wazoo. It's awesome to experience. But I do think that it is making them less consistent, and I think that it's going to hurt them in the long run if they don't, yank on the reins a little bit and slow down.
Okay.
I
don't have anything.
I have faith. I have faith in EG, but I think that the top 5 teams in Academy are really fun this split because I think that between TL,
it's more than 5.
TL, IMT, 100 Thieves, EG, and then you also throw in. I think they're a pretty clear top 4 for me.
TSM.
And then like in the next batch, I throw like TSM, C9, and then maybe FlyQuest with Philip. We need more data on like Philip's definitely a weaker top laner, has a lot of room to grow. I mean, we just need more data on FlyQuest.
It's very easy to be a worse top laner than Kumo, to be completely fair.
He was the best top laner in the league.
Yes.
But I think that those academy teams, I'd be really surprised if they dropped any games to any team outside Wildcard Red, quite frankly.
That's actually a really good point that you just made, Mark, that both Kumo and Jenkins are no longer in this league. And that is actually like a very big deal. Because I was considering like this top pool for this split to be quite strong. With both of them, Tenacity in really good form.
Tenacity and Darshan.
Darshan also. And then
there's this guy
Tony Chop's been looking good.
There's this guy that just moved
Viper
from Canada to the
exactly
facility and has been smurfing at everyone.
I was getting to that.
Viper's the best top laner in the league now.
Yeah,
it's not
close.
close.
And Niles is
Hanser's
in this league
still
now
in the league.
too.
Hanser's still good.
Yeah,
but Viper is. You cannot convince me that anyone's better than Viper in the league right now.
Yeah.
No. Especially with Kumo and Jenkins exiting. So interesting stuff. Just stuff to think about.
Like I think apart from Philip now, the whole or if you still had Kumo and Jenkins, I think every single team in Academy would have had either a very strong top laner or a formidable top lane in their own right in terms of veterancy. I think the weakest top laner you would have would be Tien, and even then, in some of CLG's wins, it is through Keel and Tien. It's through them. So it's like, even the quote-unquote weakest top laner is still a good fucking individual player. So yeah. I'm a big fan of Tien and what he and Keel are able to do for that roster in a lot of their wins. So
when Lorlo is in the conversation for like weakest top laner in your league, the role is doing pretty well.
I think that Lorlo is the weakest top laner in the league. And I actually... For me, there's still a big difference then from the tops in Academy to the tops in LCS.
For sure, yeah. I don't think anyone holds a candle to Fudge right now.
I think that only Viper is the one that can like step up and compete in their current form at the moment. Yeah.
IMT, I think are the biggest team to watch with their tough schedule. Like if they can overcome that and maybe pull out like in the higher seeds.
Honestly, I kind of want to see IMT get knocked down into UGP just to watch them just monster everyone. That would be.
Oh, it'd be just like
imagine Immortals Academy, and then you put them against like poor. I don't know.
I don't care. They're gonna monster everyone. Like. Between them, TSM, EG, C9, like whichever team has to drop in a UGP, one of those teams has to drop, and they're going to be the heavy favorites. Heavy favorites.
They will probably win UGP. Now, as we transition into semi-pro, I want to ask, since Wildcard Red and Cloud9 Amateur are already qualified for Proving Grounds, they are not invited to this UGP T1. Is that correct?
Yes, that is true. And the two teams that qualify from
EGL will not participate in.
Yes,
so yeah,
that is true.
Because I was curious to see like if how quote unquote close would be Wildcard Red versus like Immortals Academy. And if it's not close at all because of the top side of the map, then then it's even doomed. Like if Wildcard Red, who is coming out to be our best semi-pro team, can't even hold a candle to Immortals Academy, then the rest of semi-pro.
I mean, Immortals is a very, very tough ask.
This is like a what if too. Like keep in mind they're top 6, and even though their schedule is very hard, I really don't see them dropping like any series 0-2.
I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna have a negative record in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
with their current form, yeah.
Yeah, when we had No Org take out Cloud9 Academy, 2 of those players just got sent to Immortals Academy right after. So
and those
the other 3 aren't in the league.
Out C9, so
yeah. So yes, whatever Academy teams enter UGP are instantly the favorites. I think all 4 of them. And then also
some development though as we head into semi-pro.
Yeah. So we're gonna we have a sort of big news announcement that was already made public that we're gonna talk about after. So at the end we'll go over that. If you're keeping up with that scene, you already know that it's Scouting Grounds, but we'll get to that in a second. I want to talk about the quarterfinals and the teams that are in it for EGL because there are 6 contenders for those spots right now because Cloud9 Amateur and Wildcard Red are in playoffs, and there are 2 spots up for grabs. So to list them off, the teams that are up for grabs for those spots are Evil Genius's Prodigies, TSM Amateur, 100 Thieves Next, AOE Esports, Zeus Gaming, and Supernova. And if you'll notice something very strange, which is that half of those teams are LCS backed, which is the first time that has ever happened. Half of the teams in playoffs are LCS backed teams. Throughout the entire year, that hasn't happened yet. Partially because TSM did not exist. But they're all seemingly in very good form. And Dignitas Mirage, who were very close to making it in, just barely didn't because they lost the tiebreaker to Supernova while we were talking on this show.
Yeah.
So it could have been 5.
It hasn't happened since I think Cup last season had like all of them because Dig made it. But let me double check on that. Let me fact check.
I don't know if Cloud9 made it in that one.
What do you mean? Cloud9 made it in what? Challengers Uprising or
in Cup in the spring?
Oh, you know why? I got no. They didn't. Actually, none of them did. You know why I got confusing is because Golden Guardians participated in that one. That's why I got confused. What it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. And I mean, credit to those LCS backed teams. I think that it really speaks to the fact that having staff like that behind you, significant, right?
And the most surprising ones went 3-0, right? TSM and 100 Next both took 3-0 in their groups.
Okay. I'm not that surprised about 100 Next. And if you go reverse, I had 100 Next getting out of that group in second. I was wrong about their placement. They got out in first. And I think that 100 Next, I had a lot of faith in the talent on this roster. I know that Chad Jungle is green. And kind of grabbed out a solo queue for this, but he's a talented mechanical player. And I mostly had faith in Busio, Young, and Gamsu. As at this level of play, Gamsu is very good. Busio sees... I've really just been waiting for 100X to play well so I can just talk about Busio. Because I do think this guy is an insanely good player and is just going to be a crack support. Like, he has multiple accounts playing different roles that have hit Challenger. He has hit Challenger playing jungle, mid, and support. And he's playing support for this team, and some of the engages that he finds or sets up are ridiculous. Like, just because he's so good mechanically, or the champions he can play, like his set, his rel, like it's just different. It looks different than other players because of how good he is mechanically. And I'm really excited.
Nobody else is playing rel.
Well, that too, but also when he plays it, he's guessing like Ezreal flashes, Ezreal arcane shifts, and like guessing them and still finding the engage. It's filthy. Now that said, he's still young, and he's still picking up this role, and he makes some really bad mistakes sometimes too. But that's the fun of semi-pro, is that we can look at the good stuff and say, wow, this guy has a lot of potential. And for me, that's Busio. And watching them go 3-0, congrats to Hunter next. Slightly biased because I did the announcement video for those guys too, and I got to sit down and talk with them all. At least the 3 that are remaining. And it's really cool. So I'm really excited for those guys. And they also have one of the easier matchups and could potentially lock in.
Oh, are those out yet?
A spot. Yes, they are, because Supernova won. And so
where can I find the bracket?
I will read it off to you. That's where you can find it.
I found it.
All right, here we go. Left side of the bracket for EGL. The first match. It is a rematch of the Risen Esports Finals, Wildcard Red versus C9 Amateur. The other match on that side of the bracket would be Hunter Next versus Supernova. I think it's very winnable for Hunter Next, by the way. Then on the other side of the bracket, we have TSM versus EGP. And then we have Zeus versus AoE's main squad. Which is... I'm really excited for the Zeus AoE matchup, actually. I think that's going to be pretty close. And Darkwings versus Tuesday is something I'm pretty hyped about.
True.
But
it is...
Where do you guys want to start?
Do we want to go the easiest one and then ramp up to the hardest one to predict, or the other way around? Because I think the hardest one to predict is TSM-EG.
Let's start. Let's go reverse, so we end with Wildcard versus C9. So let's start with quarterfinal 4.
Okay, so Zeus versus AoE.
We want to end with Wildcard at C9.
Yes.
That's the least interesting one because they're both already qualified.
Like
I also think Wildcard wins this even easier this time. Personally, I think C9 Amateur is very good, but I am fairly confident that Wildcard Red are going to smash this.
Well, I mean, if we're starting with that one, the last time they met, it was a 3-2 in favor of Wildcard Red.
Right.
And the reason for me that it was a 3-2 is because Bradley was at a LAN. Like,
yeah,
he was not scrimming with his team for a week, and it was a 3-2. And the reason it was a 3-2 is that I think that ASC9 are much improved. For their match today, I caught up with Wixie beforehand. He spoke a lot about how the addition of Mist has actually really helped them, and that outside perspective coming in.
Yeah, I like
he's
that
someone
call
that,
out.
with his own play, has top 6 in Proving Grounds, like against all the academy teams. With a 80 carry known as Shiro, now known as Danny. If anyone's heard of him, I mean that's pretty impressive for Mist. But I think C9 are an improved team, but Wildcard Red are consistently scrimming. They still don't look tested against any of the teams that they have faced so far. Granted, one of the teams did have to FF out of groups. I think Wildcard Red 3-1, and it's not that close.
Arrow's still the best player in the tournament.
It's not a best of 5.
Oh, it's best of 3. Day 2-0.
2-0.
Yeah, and I think they 2-0 Cloud9 Amateur tomorrow.
Yeah, I think they 2-0.
Are you guys broadcasting 2 of the quarterfinals then?
Yes.
We're covering 2, and
yet to be determined.
The broadcasted series will be Wildcard Red and Cloud9 Amateur, and TSM versus EGP.
Nice. Those are the ones I would have picked.
Zeus AoE have to play on a different day. I was voting for them, but
we were trying to push for Zeus and AoE, but because Zeus had already requested that they play on a different day for quarterfinals, then we can't stream it. So
are they gonna play on TR then?
Yes.
Yes, they still have to
Okay.
play on TR.
They're working through. They're trying to get the request from EGL, but if I'm asked to vote,
Right.
I would vote yes.
I mean, you have to because there's a patch.
Well, they're going to not. I don't know if they play on TR or not next week. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, I'm saying like if you're playing the same
Yeah,
stretch of the
I agree.
tournament.
I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Zoo's AoE is super cool. Because I think Tuesday Darkwings was always like this super awesome mid lane matchup.
Soul
to watch.
Fide versus Zeus last split. I think, yeah, I'm still very high on Darkwings.
He pulled out Fiora versus Silas
It's a
mid
good matchup,
today.
dude.
That was really cool.
I could watch Spearaxe versus Darkwings all day, by the way.
I agree.
Oh,
Spearaxe
man.
was smurfing it on the Silas
an
in the
awesome
counter
mid-
matchup.
I mean, he got helped out a lot by Odd Orange. And to be fair,
Yeah.
I mean, it was well played from Odd Orange, but yeah.
Also, Sketch needs to practice duel some Ziggs combos, I think. But
It worked. It worked. Needs to talk to APA a little bit.
yeah.
Mm.
The mid lane matchup was so sick though, and I'm pretty hyped to see that matchup. I hope that it gets streamed. It should, because it's AoE, right? They'll just do it on their stream. But...
I'm sure that AoE or Zeus will be able to find talent or casters that want to put that game up.
Oh, AoE have streamed everything. So yeah.
AoE streams everything, and they have actually I do like AoE's production a lot on the broadcast that they've put up.
Dude, they've been killing it with the content game. I know that Kobe will probably listen to this too, like their manager. Like they had a content piece with RMC today on their Twitter. They've got like stingers and all that shit like for their own personal stream. Like it's actually really cool to see heavy investment from that.
Hey,
really appreciate it.
When they look at the two teams that they have, that are awesome rosters, and it's like it's good. So
yeah.
AoE. Awesome production stuff. So I'm sure that'll be a good series to watch. And I think it's really nice that AoE reach out to a lot of the lesser known talent as well for this. So like RMC, I know they've reached out to Grapes before. I think they've also reached out to Dia and Rude in the past, who are fantastic as a duo, by the way. So I appreciate that AoE do put shining lights on lesser known people.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving forward, 100 Thieves next to Supernova. I want to point out that Maddie has been returning to Lilia. He played 3 games of Lilia today. All of them were wins. That shit is getting banned tomorrow because in all the other Supernova wins, I love Maddie, and I still think he's great. But like, I think in identifying, there's a clear reason why he's going on this comfort pick. I think one of the reasons, if we go back to spring, when I was hyping up Maddie originally, Cubby tried to shoot me down and say, "Dude, he just abused Lilia to challenger. Like, there's nothing special." As Lilia is clearly a pick that Maddie uses to great success. So
apparently he likes the changes too.
Yeah, and I just think overall the way the 100 Thieves next will play the map will be far better than Supernova. I would think that Maddie can take on Chad Jungle because Chad is a newer talent, and I don't think there's like he's played well. I don't think there's anything that so insanely special that would put him above Maddie.
His Rengar. Pull it out. Play it in Lilia. It's really good.
Okay, you know what? If he does that, I will actually give him a ton of respect.
Dude, you could actually win the Rengar to Lilia matchup.
Yeah, no, I know. Because like what? Because you can actually fucking get close to Lilia in the jungle because there's all these bushes around.
Well, you can do that, and also you can get rid of the Drowsy with your Empowered W, I believe.
Good call.
Our QSS. So, yeah, that being said, 100 Thieves overall squad is just better than Supernova's team. It just straight up. The bot lane from 100 Thieves next is on a fucking other level. And it's nice to see that the rest of 100 Thieves next has stepped up to the play that Instinct and Busio have been putting in even since spring, because now this roster looks pretty formidable going into UGP T1 tournament.
I still like Lynx and Chow/Rovex, as they've actually been utilizing the sub a little bit.
Has Rovex been playing
support?
Support?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I'm going to go out on a whim and say that these are the two weakest teams that we have in all of quarters. And that's the match.
That's pretty fair.
That said, I think in recent form, I haven't seen the games that 100X put together today, but they did win against Glaive, who was the weaker team, and they beat AoE and Maryville, two teams that those are pretty solid wins. This was a tough group, and 100X topped it, and that's really the reason that I'm actually gonna take them 2-1 tomorrow. I think that 100X, because they topped it, because they get side select, and because I think that they went through a tougher group, I actually really favor them, and I think that this is a chance that 100X could actually sneak into the proving grounds. And think about it, if they're gonna probably lose the wild card, right? But there's a third place match.
Yeah,
and
they get into the third place match.
And if they win that third place match, there's 2 spots. And if wildcard makes it to the finals, they're guaranteed to at least have a chance to play a best of 5 against, I don't know, EGP or I'm going to spill EGP or TSM, as I think that Zeus and AoE are probably the 2 stronger teams at the moment. But I still think that EGP should be the favorites to get out. I don't know.
It'll be close. If 100 wins that game, then we get excited about that.
Also,
about their chances to qualify from this tournament.
Cozy revenge game, potentially, going up against his old squad.
That
also,
is true.
That's what I want to talk about with Zeus and AoE next as a transition. So this is finally the matchup we've been waiting for in quarterfinals, with RBM and Darkwings going up against their old squad.
Yep.
True.
This is that is the cool narrative point.
Now that said, that's exciting. I have Zeus 2-0.
Yeah, I do too.
I really want to root. I really want to root for AoE, and I like RBM and Darkwings and how they've been playing, especially like on Diana with like the crazy picks that Darkwings can pull out mid. But I don't think you can pull that shit up against Tuesday. His like Lucian Renekton play is too good. But
yeah,
I think it's just like I think Darkwings can match it, but Griffin Tuesday Alorum, it's tough to beat.
This up and coming new player, My Dream Academy, seems to have a really solid grasp on things in the jungle.
Yeah.
My Dream Academy. Very, very true.
I want to point out a fun meme. My reverse curse of Maryville did not work.
Oh shit!
You idiot, Smax!
What have you done?
I said that they would bomb in this tournament in an effort to try to have the reverse psychology effect, but I ended up predicting the future
in this group. To be fair,
I had him as first seed with 100 next. AoE proved me wrong.
I ended up predicting the future, and they lost. They did in fact bomb.
The true caster curse.
Yeah. That game 1, I think, will forever.
Oh, they were so close.
Oh
man.
I was talking to Rebel about it in the game, and we didn't we went nice about it in the broadcast, but the severe disrespect for Elder Dragon as a win con and letting the game go that long.
Yeah, it was bad.
And throwing away valuable moments to siege and break open the base by trading instead of cleanly executing the dives. Rebel was, as he said, I'm very upset with Jalal, who is Spearaxe, because there's a few moments on Aurelia where he was playing well in the early game, and there's a few moments under that turret. He just it is what it is. And there's even moments in game 2 where Maryville University looked split on calls. Shady wanted to get out with the Fate's call and was ready to dark patch someone's out. Azog is going in. Odd Orange is going in. So I don't know if something broke down in communication between them. That being said, I think Maryville University are still fine
and one of the better teams.
Well, they're gonna need to squeeze in through UGP now.
Yeah, I think
Which
they,
is
they
gonna be
will
pretty
be
tough.
fine going into UGP.
Same with Resolve.
Yeah.
True.
So I'm genuinely not concerned about Maryville University because I still think with the coaching staff structures and the changes that they made, they're still a favorite to get in via UGPT1. That being said, the series I actually want to talk about a lot is TSM Amateur Evil Geniuses Prodigies because
we're gonna share some.
There is some important information.
Yeah.
Shoryu will not be able to play tomorrow. EGP have not determined a sub yet.
But there is going to be a sub.
There is going to be a sub for tomorrow.
Whoa.
Because Shoryu is just not able to play. We don't know what happened, but in their series against Wildcard Red, they played the first game. In the second game, they forfeited because Shoryu was not able to play.
Wow.
And it feels really bad because we love Quentin. We want Quentin to do well. We want Quentin to succeed. And the only reason why he's on the Evil Geniuses Prodigies roster in the first place is because they couldn't get visas resolved. He's still in Toronto. He's in visa hell just like Viper and Anda were before they got out to LA.
Oh, he's still. That's why? Because he's still in visa hell? Is that why?
I don't. No. So I don't know why he's.
We know he's in visa hell, but yeah.
Yeah. But we knew he was in visa hell, which is why he's playing on the Prodigies roster because in amateur you're playing on the Chicago server, so that benefits Shoryu the most since that'll give him the best time. Had he been in LA, we probably wouldn't have seen Team Luke in the Academy roster. We probably still would have seen either Shoryu in the Academy roster, and then either Danny pumped up to LCS, or if they wanted to do Shoryu to LCS.
Who knows what that world would have been, but visas are an issue for that. And it sucks.
Right.
Like, we want to see these teams play at full strength, and we don't know what's going on with Quentin or Shoryu. Just the fact that we know that we got word from EGL that they had the FF because Game 2, and they have to use an E-sub for tomorrow, and they're trying to find an improved one. But that actually makes tomorrow a bit more interesting.
Yes.
Oddly enough.
Well, TSM have already been looking very good, too.
Really? I think TSM have looked better, but I don't think they look really good.
Very good is relative to expectations and also previous performances.
They're getting better.
Throw that out there.
Mm-hmm. Frost Forest was an upgrade.
Yes, very much so.
Yes, and Frost Forest has improved a lot of late. By the way,
they still have Gorica. They still have Doxa. And
I think Frost Forest. Yeah, I mean I love it when you guys talk about my boy Chan, but I think the biggest improvement is actually Dombre for TSM because I went on record saying that I thought Dombre could have been replaced
by
anyone. I was like, yo, like I could give two less shits about Dombre. And then I saw him play against Cloud9 Amateur. I was like, oh my god, Dombre is kind of good.
He got thrash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dombre also pulled this was an off-stream game, but he pulled out Bard too. And there's this cool thing that I'm waiting to see if other teams will do. They played Bard specifically into a Ziggs composition, and that is one of the only ways that I know of as of now that you can play around Ziggs compositions, and the main strengths in the mid game that Ziggs compositions have is forcing off choke points with Minefield, because you wait out the Minefield and then you fucking magical journey through the goddamn wall and you get through the choke point that no longer exists because you have magical journey and they already expended Minefield, and now you're in the fight. And you have ways to be able to reverse through it, which is so fucking cool. And what is Bard ulti? Tempered Fate. Yeah, Tempered Fate. You can easily Tempered Fate Ziggs because outside of Sacrifice cards, you cannot fucking escape that.
It's a unique counter.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's really cool.
This is Raafaa's theory crafting brain, by the way. He was really hyped when he was running this by me on an earlier, before an earlier broadcast.
I like it.
It's pretty gigabrained. Yeah, I actually kind of I like the counter. In theory, I don't know how much Bard can get out of current lanes. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ezreal's okay. You can get out of that lane. Oh,
Bard plus Ezreal is actually a really good pairing too.
indeed.
And considering that TSM are wanting to play towards the top side of the map, Ezreal is a very
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been
for
kind of weird,
balance.
honestly,
Eclipse,
for me. Yeah.
Eclipse has been pretty good. I think well, first of all, I want to say that I called it that he would be good on this patch with the Aurelia changes and stuff like that. So, go me. Yeah, I'm pretty high on TSM. I think that they could make some waves in this tournament too. They're currently my dark horse to qualify.
So
actually.
here's what's interesting: is my dark horse to qualify is Hunter Next, because I think it's way likelier that Hunter Next wins their first game. Because even EGP with a sub, it's an E sub, it sucks, but it's a marksman. That's the easiest role to plug and play, right? Just grab a really high elo marksman, and you're gonna be okay.
We really need to know who that is before we
do.
make like a full call.
Also,
because if it's like, I don't know. If it's Alk Battery, then I don't know. We might have some troubles here.
Why are we flaming Dimitri?
An errant shot.
No, I'm talking about TSM. If EGP if they pull Alk Battery, then TSM might as well FF.
Dude, just get
Oh, I see.
Dude, just get Zazel and just like play him AD.
Okay.
I don't know. But
get value. What if EGP just get value just for this one game? Oh my god.
Wait.
Yo, wait. A reasonable point right now.
Oh god.
Wait, that actually might happen.
They're listening.
I might have just given
Ido
a big gigabrain idea.
Does he qualify?
Actually,
oh god.
That
anyway.
actually might happen.
I mean, like no matter what.
Other AD
I mean, mine might happen too.
No matter what, pound for pound, EGP is a better team, and I think they're much better topside. As Doxa's been a spectator of late.
He has been somewhat inconsistent.
Now, the block game against C9 was like peak Doxa, but also like he picked Silas into Rumble. That's his choice to counter. He got blasted.
Surdy versus Eclipse is actually going to be really fun.
Yes,
I think.
And I give the nod heavily in Surdy's favor.
Yeah,
with Tomio.
Surdy's so good. I'm really high on him.
Yeah, so I think the EGP actually still comes out of this one, but if they don't and TSM wins, because of course it's an E sub, so and it's a best 3, anything can happen. I think TSM drops the winner of Zoo's AoE, no matter who it is, and then we potentially get Hunter Next versus TSM. Winner gets the second spot, and I heavily favor Hunter Next in that, by the way. So I think
that's
that
pretty reasonable.
I think that there is actually a world where Hunter Next or TSM or EGP, like, I think EGP like are gonna lock it in, because if they're able to play with Shorty next week, I think that EGP are like the team to beat Wildcard Red if anyone's gonna do it. They put in the closest actually in their history. I want to see that final, personally. I think it'd be a really fun final, as we're kind of giving Wildcard Red a free ride to finals if they beat C9 tomorrow.
I mean, I would imagine that they do, unless Wildcard Red want to make it interesting and be like, hey, you know what? We're already in proving grounds, blah, blah, blah. But then, no.
Then really hits. Well, it doesn't even matter, because C9's already in proving grounds, so who cares?
Yeah.
Like, the scenario still stands, right?
Yeah. True.
I think that the third place match, I'm really excited to watch it, because we could get 2 LCS orgs fighting for a proving ground spot. It's pretty realistic, actually. But Hunter Next have to win tomorrow against Supernova, which we'll see.
Whoever wins between 100 and Supernova are like thanking their lucky stars that they're on the side of the broadcast with C9 and Wildcard, I think, because then they just have to win 2 out of 3 of their series, right? You got to win your first one. If you win the second one, then congratulations, you're in. If you win the third one, then congratulations, you're in.
Yeah. If for some reason 100 Thieves beat Wildcard Red, I would just be like, oh god, 100 Thieves are now just the best team in proving grounds. Or Wildcard Red decided to give a freebie. But I mean, Wildcard Red want to take everything. I mean, there's still a decent prize pool for winning EGL. So I mean, Wildcard Red want to be the 3-peat.
And I mean, if Wildcard Red or C9 win, which I mean, either of them will, it's true for second, third, no matter what.
Oh.
Yeah, because they're both already qualified.
Right.
It's true
so
no
I
matter
guess
what.
it's true for everyone.
Yeah.
So
So what we're saying is that the third place game could be very interesting if Wildcard Red or C9 make it to the finals.
Yeah, because then.
Yeah.
So in current prediction standings,
and we're expecting Wildcard to make the finals. So the third place game is going to be really interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you say that EGP is favored to win the series.
I think even with the U-sub, yeah.
Yeah, I am inclined to respect your logic.
I'm going with DSM all the way, baby.
But
Fair.
I told my boy Chan after we went out for dinner last week. I told him, I was like, dude. So we were supposed to go to this hot pot place, but it was closed on the day of last Tuesday. We're like, damn this. But we still got good food. But I told him, it's like, okay, you know what? There's a hot pot place that's more like a shabu shabu place downtown Salt Lake City. It's really nice. It's like more fancy.
You're getting a nice insight into what it's like to date Raafaa. Except this is just, Jacob Chan and Raafaa hanging out. But anyway.
Dude, me and Chan are homies, man.
I know you guys are homies, but this also sounds like a dating conversation. Like, I got this special hot pot place.
So
you can just come here.
Also, by the way, Young, I know you live in, like, far away from us and somewhere like in Provo or something, but if you're ever in Salt Lake City, dude, hit us up because we want to meet you. Because I want to
get some hot pot at Raafaa's special hot pot place.
Utah talent, dude. I want to, like, show the fucking Utah homies a good fucking time. Because in terms of pro players, you're the only two. that deserves something. That deserves something. Because Utah isn't really known for anything else in esports. So
your state has as many pro players as casters. Because it's you and Kari also.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's fair. So
my biggest pro player in Michigan, I think, is High. So.
Oh really? From Michigan?
Yeah, he's from Detroit, I think.
Who was the Rengar top player back in the day?
Alex Choi, is that his name?
Ryan Choi.
Yeah, he was Michigan.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Alex.
The fucking 4 Doran blade start on Rengar, dude.
Yeah. I didn't know he's from Michigan. That's funny. Okay, but High's from Michigan. Yeah. Anyway,
let me wrap this up though. So I told Chan, it's like, all right, Chan. So we're going to Shabu Shabu next Tuesday, but it has to be off of a win. So do you want to do it if you qualify as the first seed? He's like, no, we're already gonna do that. Like OQ is not gonna beat us. So like
okay.
But I think I think it's more deserving if we beat EGP because if we get through quarterfinals and we get into semis, then that's a huge win for us. I don't know how well we'll be able to do.
They have a 2 out of 3 chance to make it in the proving grounds if they do that.
Yeah, and yeah,
2 shots.
Because now, at this rate, I mean, I don't think we knew that at the beginning because we didn't realize or put it together that Wildcard Red and Cloud9 amateur matchup. But yeah, if TSM beat EGP, then they're already in a good spot to be one of the 2 seeds to qualify to proving grounds. So I told him, if you beat EGP, then we're getting you fucking shabu shabu next Tuesday after the series. And he's like, okay.
You want to extend that invitation to Young as well? The Utah player? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Young, if you want to join us, dude, hit us up.
There you go. Raafaa's just taking all the semi-pro players out for some esports dinner. Celebrate the dubs.
Yeah, you gotta treat the Utah homies with respect.
Now I want to move to Utah. Anyway, we do have a couple fan questions that we can hit on while we are starting to wind down, wrap up semi-pro discussion. Yeah. That both actually relate to semi-pro.
Do you want to do fan questions before the other thing?
Do the scouting grounds thing.
Okay, actually, let's do the scouting grounds thing because one of them actually ties into one of the fan questions. Which was I'll introduce it before we start to talk about this. This question, I believe, was from GC Zachary, who asked in the chat, "Hey, do you think any amateur players will move up to academy? If so, who?" And, well, the main event that usually is used to decide this, that includes draft picks, that Smax wants to talk about, was reintroduced into the ecosystem.
Scouting Grounds is back.
Look at that transition.
We got that announcement this week. Huge announcement. I personally, I would have much rather they tell us that this was going to happen before the start of the Proving Grounds split, because as it turns out, Proving Grounds does still tie into Scouting Grounds because it's going to work exactly the same as it used to, except there are academy teams in. So you just kind of pretend the academy teams aren't there for this. And whoever the top seeded teams that are not academy are, their 5 players are invited to go to Scouting Grounds. There are some exceptions. If you have played on an academy team this year, then you can't. If you have been to 3 of the past 5 scouting runs, then you can't go. And I think those are the 2 biggest ones. But the real the sad part, the only sad part, there are 2. So one, Brandini helped with CLG's visas, which means that if Wildcard is the top seeded team, he relinquishes his spot, which is really shitty.
Wait, what?
Brandini can't go to Scouting Grounds because he was on Academy
Because he
this
subbed?
year because he subbed.
That fucking blows.
Yes.
Man.
Playing very well, too.
That's one bad part.
Mhm.
The other bad part is that because they didn't announce this before the split began, players like Five Fire and Value didn't participate. Otherwise, they might have. I don't want to speak for them, but they might have decided to play if they knew that they could do.
They can get
Grounds.
solo queue rank, though.
They can. They can still get in. So that's cool. But yeah. So this is happening again, and it's gonna be in person this time as opposed to last year where it was all remote. So that's gonna be really awesome.
Wait, I thought Five Fire couldn't play in Scouting Grounds anymore. Otherwise, he would have participated in the last one.
There's rules that's like 3 out of the last 5. And
yeah, so he couldn't do last time, but he can this time because he didn't do
I see.
2020.
Potentially. We'll see. And he can still make it through solo queue rank if he really wants to. But also, that's a player that I want to say that if an org is doing their job, you should know who Five Fire and Value are, given the fact that they won Proving Grounds. So, I'm going to also say that.
Yeah.
But it's back.
Yes. So I'm super pumped. Obviously the 3 of us did some broadcast stuff for the last event, and I know the 3 of us would love to do that again. So if you're someone who's in charge of that and you're listening to this, we're down. But yeah, I'm super excited this is actually going to happen because I was worried that for the space with the new Proving Grounds changes, we just would have 4 months off for all these players. But now there actually is something to do in November, so that's cool.
Nice. All right. The last question would be from the head coach of Wildcard Red, Morgan, ADFX. We've had on the podcast before. Who is your dark horse to win EGL? And I will also ask you guys, what are the 2 semifinals matchups that we're going to have when we do Raising NA this upcoming Sunday, hopefully on time? That's how we'll wrap up the show. Who's your dark horse? And then what are the 2 semifinals matches?
This is a dark horse to win.
Yes.
Not to qualify.
Yes, dark horse to win. Who's going to beat Wildcard Red?
I mean, if we're all in agreement that Wildcard Red is going to be the favorite for everything because they won the last 2, then my dark horse is Zeus.
Okay.
I think it's because it's you look at the 2 finalists that Wildcard Red played against in Risen and Challengers Uprising, and that was Cloud9 Amateur and Zeus respectively. So if any team is going to beat Wildcard Red, it would have to be one of those 2 teams. If AoE beats Zeus tomorrow, I don't think AoE would be able to beat Wildcard Red regardless. 100 Thieves next, don't beat Wildcard Red. And even if TSM beat EGP and they beat the winner of AoE and Zeus, there is no way, there is absolutely no way that TSM can beat Wildcard Red. There's just too many. Even if I have all my faith into my boy Chan and being able to match up against Winston, which I think would be the toughest jungler for him to actually play up against, because Winston has improved immensely and is playing out of his mind in the summer now. You look at the rest of the map and then look at Wildcard Red, like how do you beat Arrow and Daption, man? Like how? It's not fair. It's not fucking fair.
Okay. My dark horse is EGP. I think EGP have played in the best in the past, and I think that even with an E-sub, if they get out, I think that they're them versus Zuza. Well, that'll be a good match, but I think that they can. Yep. And those are my 2 semifinals. I have Wildcard Red versus Hunter next, and then I'm going to take EGP versus Zeus for my 2 semis. And that's the semis we're going to be talking about next week.
Yes. And with that, tune in to EGL tomorrow. It's going to be some great matches. You said that it was going to be the TSM EG, and then also, what was the other match?
Wildcard Red versus C9 AM. 6 p.m. Eastern, and then running starts from there on twitch.tv/academy. And with that said, that's our 7th episode of Raising NA. Any thoughts from you guys before we close on out?
Thanks for tuning into the Graveyard Shift, everyone. This has been fun. I've kept my spouse up far too late, though.
Yes, it's time.
Shout out to Cassidy. They are amazing. For
yes, thank you, Cassidy. I thank Cassidy in advance,
everybody,
so we're good.
Everybody thank Cassidy.
It's the only reason this episode happened.
Yep.
Cassidy. We love you, Cassidy.
And with that, we love you to all the fans and viewers listening at home. That's going to be it for us. Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor.fm, and /Proving Grounds Pod on Twitch, Pgrounds Pod on Twitter, and support Raafaa and Smax as well. We're going to try and get a producer next week on Sunday, I swear.
Yeah.
And from there, thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to y'all later.